day, tourists. I am May Ann Balisi, your tour guide for today, and welcome to the history of tourism. Tourism was derived from Hebrew word Torah, which means studying, learning, and searching. Early tourism. Travel and exploration are basic to human nature. Man has traveled since the earliest times, although the term tourism was used only in the 19th century. Early tourism has two forms: the travel for business and the travel for religious reasons. Travel for business. Throughout the history, merchants have traveled extensively in order to trade with other nations or tribes. The invention of money, writing, and wheel by the Sumerians facilitated travel and exchange of goods. The early Phoenicians toured the Mediterranean as traders. Both the Greeks and Romans were well-known traders, and as their respective empires increased, travel became necessary. At this time, there was also travel for private purposes. Roman traveler was largely aided by improvement in communications, first-class roads, and inns. Travel for religious reasons took the form of pilgrimages to places of worship. Pilgrimages were made to fulfill a vow, as in case of illness or of great danger, or as penance for sins. Besides Rome and Jerusalem, St. James of Galatia was a foremost destination of English pilgrims in the 14th century. Tourism during the Renaissance and Elizabethan era. With the Renaissance, a few renowned universities developed so that travel for education was introduced largely by the British. Travel for education became popular in the 16th century. Under Elizabeth I, young men seeking positions in court were encouraged to travel to the continent to widen their education. This practice was gradually adopted by others in the lower social scale. In time, it became recognized that the education of a gentleman should be completed by a grand tour of the culture centers of the continent, which lasted for 3 years. The term was used as early as 1670. While apparently educational, the appeal became social. Tourism during the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution brought about major changes in the scale and the type of tourism development. It brought about not only technological changes but also essential social changes that made travel desirable as a recreational activity. The increase in productivity, regular employment, and growing urbanization gave more people the motivation and opportunity to go on holiday. The emerging middle class combined higher incomes and growing education into annual holidays. To escape from their responsibilities and the crowded city environment, they traveled to the countryside or seashore for their holidays. This led to the creation of working-class resorts near major industrial centers. Tourism in 19th century. The railroads created not only more business by providing reliable and cheap transportation but also more competition, as various private companies invested heavily in hotels, resorts, and entertainment facilities. Thus, tourism was transformed from a small business catering to the elite into the start of a mass market that is traveled by a large number of individuals. The use of steam power provided the increased mobility needed by the tourism business. Steamers on the major rivers provided reliable and inexpensive transportation that led to the popular day trip cruises and the growth of coastal resorts near large industrial towns. As the tourism became organized in the last year of the 19th century, the organization of travel became an established institution. Travel organizers emerged. The tourism in the 20th century. At the beginning of the 20th century, pleasure travel continued to expand, encouraged by the increasing wealth, curiosity, and outgoing attitudes of the people, as well as the increasing ease of such movement. World War I brought about many changes which influenced the volume of tourism. Early post-war prosperity, coupled with large-scale migration, boosted the demand for international travel. Interest in foreign travel was further enhanced by the first-hand experience of foreign countries. New forms of mass communication stimulated curiosity about other countries. In addition to the influence of posters and the press, the cinema, radio, and television widened knowledge and interest in travel. After World War, forms of travel began to change radically. The railways as a means of travel declined with the introduction of the motor car. Motorized public road transport and improved road conditions led to the popularity of seaside tours. World War II also led to the increased interest in travel. The war had introduced combatants not only to new countries but to new continents, generating new friendships and an interest in different cultures. Another outcome of the war was the progress in aircraft technology. Air travel had become more comfortable, safer, faster, and cheaper in comparison with other forms of transport. With the introduction of the Boeing 707 in 1958, the age of air travel for the masses arrived, hastening the decline of sea travel. After the post-war recovery years, there was an increase in private car ownership. Travelers switched to the use of private cars, and this change affected by coach and rail services. The private car provided flexible transportation which freed people from the schedules and fixed routes of public transport. It encouraged the growth of excursions and short-stay holidays. Resorts near major centers of population benefited considerably. Road improvements brought more distant resorts closer to the major cities. The resourceful tour operators devised flexible packages. Hotels devised their own programs of short-stay holidays. The demand for hired kiles on holidays overseas also increased substantially. The post-war economic recovery provided an increase in discretionary income and leisure which many people converted into increased recreation and travel. Due to labor negotiations and social legislation, the length of official and paid holidays increased. Governments have created more vacation time by incorporating isolated public holidays into the familiar long weekends throughout the year. As business and trade prospered in the developed countries, business travel also flourished, leading to the demand not only for individual travel but also for conference and incentive travel on a worldwide scale. The 1970s have also seen the emergence of new patterns of tourism, as economic power has shifted between countries. New tourism-generating countries arose, notably the oil-rich Arab countries and Japan. Europe, as well as the developing tourist-based economies of Asia, have benefited from this influx. The Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia have strengthened their tourist attractions to appeal to new markets. Governments of many nations are encouraging the growth of both domestic and international tourism as a means of job creation, economic diversification, and source of foreign exchange. Beyond its economic significance, there is a growing realization of the role of international travel in promoting world peace and prosperity. Again, I'm May Anbalisi, your tour guide, and hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from my video. Thanks for watching!